Five, four, three, two, one.
Relax and enjoy.
Welcome back. This is Straight Talk on Views from the Other Side podcast, and I'm Mikey Strong, and I'm here with my good brother,
Alvin Edington Jr.
And we're here to give you that straight talk, raw, uncut, no chase.
All right, man. There's a lot of things going on, bro. Like, and not only in our community, around the world. We're still dealing with this pandemic. Things are still happening to us on the social justice front. Small things like, and I don't want to get into no big discussion about Bill Cosby, but, they let some other guy out, like at the beginning of the pandemic. I forget his name, some white guy, right? No disrespect, but it's just a fact. They let him out for health concerns. He was in jail. But they let him out for health concerns due to COVID-19. And so we're a month in, and now they're talking about letting, Cosby out. It's small things like that, those discrepancies in our justice system that kind of tweak me, man, in the wrong way. And so, I just thought that tonight we could look at, a few different things that pertain to us. One is Black men. Like, I'm not trying to be an apologist for Black men. I am a Black man, but I really want us to, highlight, Black men in a positive way. We're inundated with negative images of ourselves on a TV screen, on a movie screen, and the music, in the community. There are more women who are doing, great things, Black women who are doing great things in life comparative to us. And, I just want to talk about the reason why. Like, how do we get to this place to whereas we're I don't know what to call it, man. We're the floor and everybody else is stepping up, just generally speaking. So I want to talk to the foundations of how we as a community got to this place of the Black man being where we're looked at socially, and then, kind of build from there, man. So what are your thoughts, man? How did we get to the place of, Black men in general? And I know I'm not talking directly about yourself and myself, but in general, when we talk about Black men and we see images of Black men, why do you think it is that those images are pushed out to us?
Well, personally, I think that it has to do with self-love, and it starts from the home. It starts from young. It has to do with the upbringing. I think what's void and what's missing is self-love. It's just not there. It actually, a lot of people had no idea what self-love was until recent initiatives started surfacing and becoming prevalent and, just getting a lot of airtime. Self-love wasn't something I thought about growing up. Self-love wasn't something that I even knew was a thing. I knew that there were things that I did to make myself happy, but the whole concept of what self-love really is, I had no idea about it. So I think that has a lot to do with it from the onset. The mind's a real complicated, complex thing.
Yeah.
What you think is what you are. A lot of times you hear people say what you eat is what you are. Well, not in a literal sense of eat food through mouth, but what you ingest, what you take in, what you spend time learning, what you spend time researching, what you're around, those things that you absorb, that you take in, that's what you tend to be. I know when I was running around and misguided, those things were toxic. I absorbed them like a sponge. I just took them in, and I actually tried to live up to those things. So since I've gained control of my senses and I'm on, a different path, I see that the things that I put time into, the things that I learn about, things that I care to focus on, I find those are the things that feed into me, that they sow into me. And that has a lot to do with the circle that's around me, that's the people that I'm around, that I allow into my circumference, the things that I watch on television and movies, the music I listen to, all that plays a part in my mindset. So being an African-American man, there was a time where I thought I wouldn't live to see 21. When 21 came, I thought I wouldn't live to see 30. 30 came, I was like, okay, this something good here. Let me see what God got in store for me now. So, I feel like it's a lot to do with the mindset. And there's no limits. Once you understand that there's no limit to what you can do, see, that's what kept me back a lot. I had that felony from when I was a juvenile, and in my mind, I limited myself. I was like, man, I got this damn felony. Nobody gonna hire me. Go out here in the streets. I was my biggest, worst enemy because I limited myself. Later, when I realized that that little situation from way back when can't stop me now. Somebody give me a chance. And eventually somebody did give me a chance, and I was able to prove myself, and I was able to have a work history, and I was able to level up and get a better job and repackage myself and step up and progress. And then when I look back at it, I was like, damn, this whole can't get a job because I got a felony, that really hindered me. That held me down. And nobody did it but myself, because that's all I was allowing to take hold in my mind. When I opened up and allowed other things like their reality that felony didn't hold me down and I could do anything I wanted to do, oh, man. Life took on a whole different meaning.
Man, I think that's a big thing for young men in our communities to understand. Not to encourage that they get caught up in anything, but oftentimes, growing up, we heard, you get a felony, it's a wrap, right? Even I remember Cube had a song, or actually it was Mac 10, one of the two, and he said, got a felony? Do you doing a job application? He said, "Have you ever been convicted of a felony?" Yes. Right. Once you do that, it's like you feel like, man, there's no way I'm going to get this job. So a lot of times we didn't apply for jobs because we had that felony, and we were under the assumption that no one would give us a chance. So hearing you say, like, man, I took a chance on myself despite having that felony, and somebody took a chance on me because I stepped outside of, my fears or my misunderstanding or my misguidance, and then the sky was the limit. I think a lot of times we're sold some false bills, some false good bills, however you say it, bro. We're just sold some lies, and we believe them, and we never investigate. And I think that a lot of times what has happened is we've gotten stuck as a species, as men, as Black men. We've gotten stuck in this mindset because we haven't investigated. We not only haven't investigated like things in this world thoroughly, we haven't investigated ourselves. So when we look at, how did we get to this point in time in our history where, the prison system is filled with Black men. We make up 14% of the nation. If that, I think as a community, we make up 14%. As Black men, I think we make more up like 6%, but we make up over 50% of the prison population. That I think we touched on this last time. That's systematic, that there are think tanks that, made sure that we could have another source of prison labor or slave labor, right? And that would be prison labor. And I think the whole mentality of America has been working off of the backs of us. And, I just think that until we get out of that slave mentality in more ways than one, then we're going to continue to be the people that they utilize to get their free labor, on top of our brown brothers, of course. But if we never get out of that mentality, that slave mentality that we have, that stems back from way back from the 1400s and then a little before that, then, we won't ever be able to grow beyond where we are collectively. There are more hoods and more ghettos than there are Black suburbians, right? So how do we transition the mindset of these youngsters to like see things beyond the hood, to see things beyond prison, beyond thinking they're going to die at 21? Maybe they'll make it to 25. What can we do to try to change the trajectory? Because it changed for us. I mean, we were blessed, but there are millions of more who are still stuck in that mindset. And our women need us to be right. Our women need us to get it together, right? Our women need us. Our children need us to get it together because, we see how they treat the Black woman because there's no man to protect her. And then, then they'll give us $1 million record contract and we can disrespect women all day and they won't say anything and sell dope all day. We got to do better. Like, what do you think we can do to infiltrate the system, to infiltrate the community and infiltrate the minds of these young men and help them to see life beyond what they see right now?
To be totally honest and transparent, what happened with me was I had my son and I was on federal house arrest. Mm-hmm. While on federal house arrest, I was told if I did not get a job, I would be going back to federal prison. And I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I can't leave my son again. And I went to the Compton, at the time it was called Career Link, one-stop resource centers. A lot of different names to it, but it's all the same thing. The one-stop, the Career Link. I had a caseworker, Ms. Joe Tenner, and she helped me beyond belief. She helped me get in at City of Compton on a work experience program for general services to go out and clean up parks, power wash the graffiti off, different things. And what happened with me with that experience, because I was in and out of the Compton courthouse a lot, parked in the same parking lots as the sheriffs, interacted with them. They interacted with me, not as a young Black American possible of committing a crime, but as a upstanding, law-abiding citizen. The respect,
yes, sir.
The way in which they spoke to me differed exponentially as to when they pulled me over or saw me on the street.
Got you.
And when that clicked in with my paycheck, my little uniform, feeling good about myself, being able to go home to my son, get up in the morning, go to work, it wasn't nothing financially. It was the thought of being able to do this after that felony. It was the thought of being able to do it after so many downfalls and pitfalls in my past.
Gotcha.
Now that same career linked, that same caseworker opened so many doors for me. What happened was I was in a situation, I was in a halfway house and I needed a job and I called her up and she said, well, let me check into it. Let's see what Garnett got going over there. She was a lady named Dr. Garnett Newcomb. She owned Human Potential Consultants. And what they did was they worked with felons and people re-entering the community and things of that nature. And one thing about HPC, Human Potential Consultants, was their motto that employment was the cornerstone to success. If somebody was able to be employed, they would not commit a crime. If you're able to be gainfully employed where you can take care of your bills, responsibility, your family, and yourself, that person will never commit a crime. And she gave me a chance, gave me a shot. I had 5 different locations. At the time, they had a contract with CDC, California Department of Corrections, and they had 5 different halfway houses. And what the irony of it was, I was in a halfway house servicing the computers and networks at halfway houses. See, God don't play when it comes to me. He always lets me know that he's in the midst of everything.
Yeah.
So I went through that, and I'm so grateful for that. Is what that allowed me to see was that, again, your past is not your end all. You can uplive your past. You can get past it. You can be great. You can do a lot of great things regardless of what has transpired in the past. If you got life, you wake up in the morning, there's hope. Shout out to HPC and Dr. Garnett Newcomb and Joe Tenner.
You said a couple of things, bro. HPC, shout out, Human Potential Consultant. I tried to get a job there a few times. They didn't hire me. Maybe my jacket was a little bit too long. No, I'm just kidding. So anyways, you said a couple of things, man. A couple of things that you said really, really, really stood out. The first thing you said basically someone took a chance on you. They want to help you. But in order for you to be helped, you had to be humbled, right? You had to be humble. You couldn't go in there expecting to make $10,000 a week. Nope. You have to go in there and you got to humble yourself and get your foot in the door, and you have to allow somebody to help you. And that changed not only the trajectory of, your whole life, but it allowed you to see yourself in a different light. Like you start to feel good about who you were as a person. And so you stood tall with the sheriffs, and now, you can have a conversation with a sheriff and not feel intimidated or feel like, less than. And so that person taking a chance on you to help you was key. So one thing I think that we need to make sure is that these young people have help, right? But their part it's always two parts to it. I can help you, but if you're not hungry enough or humble enough to take what I'm offering, then I've done my part. So the young people got to be humble enough to be able to take the help that is offered to them, and that can change their whole life as it's changed yours. So that was that was one thing. And then you said human potential consultant, that their model was basically economic empowerment. If I empower you economically, if I empower somebody economically, they're not going to want to steal, kill, because they have something that they're working towards or working for. They have enough money to purchase a house, so they don't have to go rob your house. They have enough money to purchase their own car, so they don't have to carjack you. So, economic empowerment, that was the other part that stood out to me. It's like, man, like if we empower people economically, then we can lower recidivism. Recidivism is, people going in and out of jail. So when people get out of jail, like, what they gonna do? They're either gonna get a job or they're gonna go back to hustling. And if that job is not able to get them their own place, their own car and things like that, it's no wonder they go back to the streets and they end up back in the system. So, economic empowerment, man, that's something that's necessary in our communities in order to help people getting out, helping people who already, you still out, but in bad situations. So yeah, man, that's dope.
I find that, whenever I'm feeling in a funk or I'm not satisfied with the money that I'm making, I repackage myself. I revisit my resume. I update it, and I put myself out there again to the masses and sell myself again and land a better job. Anything you put your mind to, you can do. That's what my struggles and my downfalls, my pitfalls have taught me over time. Nothing is the end as long as you have life.
Repackage yourself. Speaking of economic empowerment, I was I was just scanning through, I think it was Instagram, and it was a clip of Kanye, and he starts to talk about they didn't kill Dr. King over, him having a dream. They killed him over the fact that he was trying to shift the economic numbers for Black people back in the day. Because, we can be free to go and live next to certain people, but if we don't have the right resources, financial resources, we won't ever be able to build our own hospitals, build our own schools, build our own communities up. And so I scanned past it. I don't listen to Kanye because he be everywhere. He's still trying to figure himself out. But that whole idea of us being empowered economically, if we have the right resources, how much better we could be as a community. And then people say, well, we have Oprah Winfrey and we have Jay-Z and we have, these people who are multi-millionaires, billionaires and stuff like that. Why don't our communities reflect those black dollars? Because we actually have a lot of millionaires and a good number of billionaires who could, aid the community in a way to whereas we can own things within a community. What do you think we can do as a Black collective, as a whole, as a culture, to empower each other economically? I'm not trying to ask for a handout. I don't want you to come and hand me nothing. But, how can people like Dr. Dre give, $100 million to USC and give, $20 million to Compton? Like, I don't want you just to give me money. Show me how you built what you built. Show me how to become an engineer. Build a school of engineering for me so that I can, how can we do that? How can we get into the minds of those who have, to show them that we don't want handouts. We don't need handouts. But what we do need is a hand up. Show me how to fish. And man, best believe I'm going to go out there and I'm going to catch some sharks.
I think what that takes is it's going to take a mentor program, but not just any mentor program. It's going to take a mentor program, sort of like 1,000 Black dads against violence, to come together. The men come together, and whatever your skill is, mentor 2 or 3 young brothers in that skill. Teach them the tricks to the trade, teach them the ropes, teach them the skill, teach them the things that you learn that they won't learn from a textbook. Teach them a skill. You touched on it, teach a man how to fish, he'll feed himself forever. Give a man a fish, he'll be hungry tomorrow.
Yeah.
We need to develop some sort of mentor program on a wide scale, not just me and mine's over here or this little city here or these couple blocks here. We need a large scale mentor program that our men that have skill and, have made it and proven themselves and honed their craft can give back by mentoring a couple younger gentlemen or women.
100%.
And I believe that's the first step. The second step is to open businesses collectively as a people. So one person doesn't own it, the community owns it. It's a true community market, or it's a true community establishment. What that looks like, maybe 200 people coming together, throwing $20 a month in a pot for a year. At the end of that year, see what it looks like. Start a business. That business belongs to the community. You get where I'm going?
Man, I think it sounds super dope. I totally get where you're going. I love it. I love that thought process. So, I'm also going to be the... go ahead.
Part of the reason this platform came about is to make things like that happen eventually. Once we have a good followership and listeners and they tell someone and we get our numbers up, these are the type of things that we're going to be looking to spearhead across the world. Not just our community, not just the West Coast, the East Coast, down South, across the world. Because Black don't just exist in America. I know they got this term African American or American Black or Black. It's deeper than that.
Yeah, we see, how they doing in China, how they, been treating, the African brothers who've been in China, even in Israel. And we can touch on that on another international discussion. But going back to this economic empowerment and the mentoring programs and just that thought process, I think those are great ideas, like 100%, and definitely will be part of, the collective brain trust to make sure that happens. My fear in things like that is again, we touched on this last week. We're middle class, so we're going to make sure like people like our kids are tapped into stuff like that. But both you and I mean, your mom was a school teacher, so she, She was definitely on you about education, but the environment we grew up around, most mothers and most dads who aren't even there aren't pushing their kids towards anything like that. They're not going to say, you got to go to this mentoring program. You have to go with Mr. Bailey and learn this trade. You have to. So my fear is how are we going to galvanize the people who we really want to affect? Because if we can affect the lowest of us, then we can it's going to definitely affect the best of us, right? So if we can affect that population, the impoverished and the ones who are in the hoods, the ones who find themselves in and out of jail, if we can affect them at a younger age, and get their parents who are normally despondent, normally don't really care what their kids do or don't do. And so, got this vicious cycle. If we can get those kids, if we can figure out a way to make sure that they are accounted for in this process, man, I think, man, the sky is the limit. But it's also just the reality is, my fear is, man, growing up in that environment, my mom wouldn't have made me do anything. I had to go figure it out. I had to go, if I was going to go hustle or if I was going to go play basketball, I had to go figure it out. And I didn't have no tabs on me. It's not a shot at my mom. She just wasn't trained properly. She was a 16-year-old mom. So she had me when she was 16. So it wasn't like, okay, now she had this kid, we're going to tell you how to do it. They didn't tell my mom how to. So she was figuring it out along the way. And getting caught up in drugs in the 80s, it's like, it's not blaming, it's just the cycle started, and now we're 2020, and these younger sisters in those situations just aren't trying to motivate their sons or their daughters to be much more than what they've seen and what they know. So that's going to be the challenge as we move forward with this program. It's making sure we don't leave nobody behind, no man left behind. No community, nobody is, nobody, we're not going to give up on anybody. And so that means we're going to have programs for the parents as well. So, we mentor the kids, but we got to clean the parents up. We got to change their thinking. You said something about the thinking earlier. We got to change their thinking, because if their thinking is toxic, if their thinking is a ghetto thinking, then, they're going to produce toxic behaviors and ghetto action. So it's a lot of work to do, but I'm excited because I'm like, it can be done. I believe it can be done. I don't think God has put us here and put that in our spirits for us just to sit on there and say, man, that would have been a great idea. I think we're going to push forward. We're going to do it. And if they kill us doing it, man, they shoot us because we're doing it, then praise God. They could, put us on the Mount Rushmore with Malcolm and Martin.
I agree with everything you just said. I think it's going to take a village. I was raised where it took a village. If I did something that was inappropriate or rude, I was admonished by any adult in my neighborhood, and they walked me home and told my mother, and they got thanked, probably got something cold to drink, a hug, and sent on their way. And I got another whooping when I went in the house and sent to bed. Nowadays, it's not like that anymore. Somewhere along the line, things changed. The thinking, the thought process. Don't put your hands on my child. Don't know who you think you are. Ma'am, your child just broke a window with a rock for no apparent reason. And the only way I think that we can begin to triage it is by showing, leading by example, doing what we say, walking our walk, and, talking our talk. Just letting them see. Let them see that, they can send their children with us. They can come with their children and learn as well.
Them learning as well. Yeah, that pride, right? It goes back to, like I said earlier, we talked about you had to be humble. You know what I mean? You have to have humility in order to receive help. And, I think that'll be the prayer and for us is that, these parents can humble themselves enough to see that we don't look down at you. We're not looking down at you and trying to pull you up. We're at the same level trying to push you up. Like, we've been here. We understand. And we know that there's better out there for you. And we know that it's scary. We know that you're used to a certain lifestyle. We know that you're like, man, I don't know what this looks like. I don't want to be around certain people. I'm going to be uncomfortable. That's okay. We'll get past that too. So I think it's a lot of reassurance and letting those parents know that, change is good, not only for their kids, but also for them, and that they're never too old to change and to grow and to build. So man, that all sounds like, man, yeah, I'm excited about it, bro. Excited about not the possibilities. I'm excited about the fact that it's going to happen.
It's definitely going down. It's definitely in the works. I think one of the things that make me have unwavering faith and belief in what we're doing is that we've talked about this for years. We have
100%.
spoken about this and amongst other initiatives for years, and we're finally putting action to our words. We're finally making it happen.
100%.
Of course, it's happening in a time that, the world is in turmoil and everything isn't as we would like it to be, but what better time than now?
100%.
When this is all over and we emerge from the Phoenix, there'll be a different day, a different story.
Man, I pray that when we come out of this, man, that all the things that we're doing collectively, you, me, and other brothers and sisters that we're connected to, that it reinforces community values, a community mindset. That it is going to take a village. It's going to take us all collectively, and there's going to have to be a lot of faith and trust, and we're going to have to really build each other up. We're going to have to support each other. One of the biggest things I think we need to really start to support is we need to support our men, right? I'm real hard on men. I am when it comes to marriage and life and stuff like that. I go hard on us. Not because, oh man, I want the women to love me or anything like that. But I know that a community, a nation will only go as far as their men lead them. And it's not to disparage women at all. Women are great. Our women have held us down. But I know they tired of carrying, being the backbone of the community. I love the fact that they feel like, man, I'm strong enough to do it. But God did not build them to have to suffer through all this stuff to be great without the man. So, my prayer is that we start to get these men in line with who their God-given purposes are. So then if our men and women are both carrying a community collectively like it's supposed to be, a man and woman side by side, God took the woman out of his side, his rib, you know what I'm saying? Not his back, not his foot, but his side, so they can walk alongside together and rule the land. When man and woman are walking hand in hand and doing what they're supposed to do, man, it will transform this world. And I really believe that. I really believe that part of the reason why it's been so tough on us culturally as it has been is that the devil knows that if we ever get it together, specifically, if Black men and women ever got it together collectively, then we would show the power, the beauty, the grace, and the love of God. We are some of the most forgiving people, some of the most loving people throughout all of history, right? Throughout all of humanity, we are, and we love to, throw grace out there and throw mercy out there. Those are qualities that are directly from God. And if we ever got ourselves together, man, collectively, then we could transform this entire world. And I believe that. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Black man. I believe that based off of what I've seen in history and what I know about the scriptures.
So one thing I want to touch on and really, really expand is that you can't fight an invisible man. You have to understand what's going on and know what it is you're dealing with. In the midst of things, in a relationship, in a marriage, in a situation, you have to be able to understand the devil's part in this. When things are going crazy and you just fed up and ready to blow your top, step back and look at the situation and think, is this the devil? The devil move your butt. You got to think, people. You can't let the devil pull one over on you. You got to keep your eyes open. You got to use your discernment. You got to understand things for what they are, make sense of nonsense. And, throw some paint around from time to time so you can see the devil. And he can't hide from that paint. And when I say this, I mean, get into your word. Let your word be the paint so you can see the devil. A lot of times in marriage and relationships, things can get very awkward very fast. And you'll be sitting there, you wake up this morning all smiles, and by 6 o'clock, you'll be sitting there with all your stuff packed, ready to go. And not know how you got there. I'll tell you how. The Devil Express. That's how you got there. He done found his way in. He done put the baby oil down, and he got the belt. That's the devil.
That brother said the Devil Express. Man, we don't like to so many different spiritual, esoteric things going on, especially in our community. You got the Kemetic scholars, Egyptian scholars, and you got the Hebrew Israelites, you got the church folk, you got, Buddhism, we got a lot of different things going on, right? And, me and you, we stand on the Bible, the Holy Bible, stand on the Word of God. And when we start to, peel all the layers back from all of the different religious and spiritual thoughts that go on within our communities, if we just bare knuckle, word for word, and we start to look at the Word of God and start to look at the fact that, the devil has been there since the beginning of time. He has shown his hand. And if we study it enough, we study the Word enough, we'll be able to see when he's coming. We'll really understand that his whole mission in life is to kill, steal, and destroy. And so once you start to see things being killed in your life, people stealing things out your life, or, even when you steal things out of your own life, you got to see what the devil's influence and, your joy, if there's joy that's been snatched away, the devil is somewhere influenced, and then you have to fight the devil. You can only fight the devil with God. And there's God. God is in you. And I'm not, I know no spiritual spook stuff here. I really believe in the Word of God, that God said that when I was baptized into the body of Christ, that the Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God, dwells in me. So that now makes the Spirit of God living in me. And so I'm walking around as a little G, that God made me in his image and after his likeness. If I walk in that power and I'm able to see my enemy as he is, I'll be able to fight him the right way. But a lot of us don't know that we little G's. A lot of us don't even know how great we are. A lot of us like being the devil, being our puppet master, and running in foul circles because we don't understand the power that can dwell in us if we accept, God into our hearts, into our lives, and get baptized into his body. And so, man, not trying to take it religious to a religious place, but when you brought up the devil, man, it's the devil's real. The devil is like a roaring lion seeking who he can destroy, man. And one community of people that he's tried his dangest to destroy has been our community. And our resilience, our fight, and our tenacity to not give up shows me that even through slavery and through Jim Crow South and all that kind of stuff, bro, that we, God got his hand on us, that, even through all that stuff, we're still here. We shouldn't be here. No people on this planet could survive what we survived without God by their side and in them. So, I want to just say that because you got sparked a little thought in me, man. We gotta fight the devil, but only God can fight the devil. And black man and black woman, all those, whoever's listening, if you've accepted, God into your life and got baptized, then the Holy Spirit dwells in you, which means God lives in you. That means you're a little G. Read your Bibles. God even says it in his Bible. He calls us little gods. But, again, I don't want to go there yet. One day we'll get there. We'll have that discussion when we have people calling in. But today I'm just going to table it right there.
Okay. Whenever you so feel moved, go right ahead. The floor is yours, brother.
100%.
I guess there's no hiding it anymore. After tonight, people do know that you are a pastor. Okay.
I didn't say I was a pastor. I'm just a brother talking
on the mic. You didn't have to say it. All right. One of the things that past my desk this week, or crossed my desk this week, was the fact that it seems like they are now trying to get rid of the dollar the way we know it, the currency, trying to bring in a global currency. And the initiative that they're trying to use, the guise that they're using to bring it in, is an act, a stimulus act, Automatic Boost to Communities Act. This is very interesting. It's claiming to be in response to the coronavirus crisis. The Automatic Boost to Communities Act would immediately provide a U.S. debit card preloaded with $2,000 to every person in America. Each card would be recharged with $1,000 monthly until 1 year after the end of the coronavirus crisis. So if this crisis were to go on until December, for 1 more year till December 2021, you would continue to receive $1,000 each month on this card. So that's all good. That sounds great. But what caught my eye was the internal workings and the setup of this card. Now, I'm just going to say that I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do give credence to things that sound plausible. So distributing the money, which is bullet point 3 on this bill, I'm actually reading from the bill itself. Prepaid cards would be distributed as U.S. debit cards and would be administered by the U.S. Treasury Bureau of the Fiscal Service. These prepaid digital cards could be used to withdraw physical currency at regular ATMs or FDIC-insured banks or credit unions, or make payments at point-of-sale terminals, as well as online. In addition, these cards could be topped up with additional funds as needed during and after the crisis. All cardholder and interchange fees associated with use of distributed cards would be waived for the duration of the crisis. This program would establish a common database of recipients identified by name. Information would not be shared with any other federal, state, or local agency. Any individual who receives, activates, and uses more than the maximum number of cards authorized for themselves and their dependents, either as a result of fraud or administrative error, would have excess funds reclaimed in the future. So, sometimes you got a card in the bank, make a mistake, or a mistake is made, and hey, that's on them. Right here, clearly, that's not the case. Cards would be distributed in 3 ways. Direct mail for all individuals with an active address on file with any government agency would have a card sent to them to that address via United States Postal Service. In pickup in person, individuals who do not have a permanent address or who otherwise do not receive their U.S. debit card by mail, including undocumented people, permanent residents, and temporary visitors whose stay exceeds 3 months, could also obtain one directly from any FDIC-insured bank or credit union, or temporary card distribution station that would be placed at local post offices and U.S. embassies overseas. Now, it seems to me like they're trying to make sure that nobody misses out, but it goes one step further. Number 3, at-risk outreach. A dedicated emergency responder corps would perform outreach to at-risk populations, including people who are elderly, homeless, physically disabled, or live in remote areas, to ensure they receive their U.S. debit card and to simultaneously perform a general wellness check in case they need additional targeted assistance. Now, there's 2 ways to read this. One, would be the naive way. 2 would be the, what you talking about, Willis way? At-risk outreach? When have, you know what? I'm just going to go on to say that this bill, it sounds amazing. Who is not going to jump at $2,000 and $1,000 a month up for a year after the pandemic ends? See, this is how they, you know, my grandmother used to say that some people sell their soul for a jelly roll. And a craven puppy dog always chokes. Now, they know that there's no way they would ever get us to accept a globalized currency to replace money as we know it. But they also know that honey attracts bees. They also know that if they give us something that is amazing in a sense to us at the time, not many are going to refuse it. Not many are going to turn it down. But there's something here that if you don't read to the end of the bill, you won't see it. The Treasury Security would direct the U.S. Mint to issue 2 $1 trillion platinum coins under the legal authority provided by blah, 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 blah. The Federal Reserve would complete the purchase by crediting the U.S. Mint's account at the Fed with $2 trillion in reserves. The Treasury would make the funds available to the Bureau of the Fiscal Service to disperse to every person in America in the form of prepaid U.S. debit cards. In the long term, now this is the most interesting part. In the long term, the card infrastructure should be converted into a permanent Treasury-administered digital public currency wallet system to serve as privacy-respecting e-cash, complement to universal Fed accounts and or postal bank accounts for all. This proposal should be accompanied by progressive tax reform to ensure that emergency relief provisioning does not exacerbate income or wealth inequality in the long term. Now, I'm not going to read that again. I'm sure you heard me the first time. They just told you, but they waited till the very end of the bill to slide that in on you.
Of course.
Yeah, once this coronavirus is over, we're just going to go ahead and make this the new currency. You heard it here first. Maybe you didn't hear it here first.
Hopefully it won't go through, right? It's a bill on the floor, right? It's not something that they've passed yet, right?
It's a bill on the floor that's been put to vote. I need to follow up and see where the vote is, when that's occurring, and what happens. I need to put this on my tracker because I definitely follow up with this. But just the thought that this is even a possibility worries me.
Well, you know, this is a reality too, bro, of the one world currency. It's going to come. It's going to happen somehow or some way. The Bible is true, man. It speaks on it. It speaks on a one world government. It speaks on the Antichrist. And, so that stuff is going to happen. And there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it, but at least be informed. At least know and don't be oblivious to the fact that it's happening so you can just get your life right. And, you know what I'm saying, and walk with God and do what you need to do to fight the evils to come with God on your side, because we're going to fight. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. If we want it to happen or not, it's going to happen. It's just when, and how complicit are we going to be in our ignorance? We don't want to be complicit in our ignorance. That's one of the biggest falls of mankind. We were doing stuff out of ignorance. Like, oh, yeah, give me that $1,000 a month. Man, if you don't get out of here with that chump change.
I just hope that people really see things for what they are. Do some research. This is not 1970, 1980. You have access to information at your fingertips, readily available to you at this day and age. Do your own research. Don't take anything anyone says for face
100%.
value. Do your research and find out and read up on some things and have some better understanding. Ask some questions. It takes a whole lot to jump off the bench and start to do it. So hopefully this will jar you to get up off that bench. This has been another episode of Straight Talk. I'm Mikey Strong, and I was here with
Alvin Edington Jr., straight talk, no chasing.
We'd like to thank you for rocking with us. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Share podcast. Tell a friend about it. Let's get the word out. Spread the word. We're here for you. We're here for the platform. We do it for the culture.